In April of 2020, 4 million people quit their jobs. In the media, it was chalked up to laziness, people in minimum wage positions who felt emboldened by the pandemic stimulus. Then, in September 2020, another 4 million people quit, bringing the unemployment rate to 15%, higher than it has been in 100 years. But this isn't the Great Depression. This is the Great Resignation. It turns out that not only minimum wage workers are quitting, but so are healthcare workers, millions of administrators, tech workers, educators, and with these 8 million resignations came a new wave of statistics that prove people aren't getting lazy. People are getting ready to bet on themselves and become their own boss. But how do you leave your job without creating a new one? According to the U.S. Census Bureau, more than 4.3 million people registered for new business applications in 2020. That's nearly 1 million more than applications than in 2019, a 25% jump in just a year. Heading into 2022, America is a startup nation, and there's never been a better time to quit your job and pursue a future that you are passionate about. So, what's driving the Great Resignation? It's probably a combination of things. Maybe it's the lack of control we all collectively felt. Suddenly being unable to do simple things, sending our kids to school every day, stepping into a crowded elevator, going to a movie, traveling, throwing a birthday party. Maybe it was the shock of suddenly having so few choices in life that made so many people wake up to how their place of employment offered them so few choices, so little control over their own futures, their own personal growth, their precious time. When Jade Adams of Knoxville, Tennessee, a wedding photographer, went into lockdown, she used the time at home to throw herself into her houseplant hobby. At one point, she'd collected over 200 exotic and rare plants, and they were completely taking over her apartment. Some might think this was a little excessive, but plants are her true passion. When she couldn't possibly fit another plant into her apartment, she decided to sell a few on Facebook, and that went surprisingly well. Eager to make another paycheck, she opened a booth at a cultural event space in July of 2020 and made $15,000. She realized she wasn't the only one who went all in for their houseplants during lockdown. The houseplant market was silently blowing up during the pandemic as people at home tried to bring more of the outdoors in. That October, with every penny of her $20,000 in savings, Adams opened a brick-and-mortar shop she called Oglewood Avenue. Her investment was returned to her in less than a week. As a wedding photographer, Adams was making $48,000 a year. In the first 6 months, Oglewood Avenue grossed over $200,000. What a beautiful example of how to quit your job without creating a new one. Adams carved out a new career path for herself by using tools she had all along, skills she had developed while pursuing a passion, a hobby. Maybe this mass exodus was led by the sudden shift into remote work and virtual learning. So many people who couldn't imagine doing their job from anywhere but the office, suddenly, now they're working from home, making their kids lunch, walking their much happier dog 3 times a day, and still getting their work done during regular business hours. Maybe that opened millions of eyes, showed them new ways to make money that they never knew were possible, ways to use their talents to make more money from home while spending more time with their families and having more control over their schedules. People began to see that they can be their own boss. Misha Burton of Washington, D.C. was working in lockdown as a government consultant and not loving it. She felt stuck working from home. She considered working a few days from a coffee shop, but found the environment to be too unpredictable to guarantee a good day's work. She considered trying WeWork, but found it was too expensive. That's how she got the idea of WorkChew, a membership program that gives people exclusive access to posh and historical bars and hotel lounges around the town that are often closed during the day. With WorkChew, for $49 a month, you can pack your computer and join a relaxing co-working environment that includes Wi-Fi and 10% off tasty food and drinks. The bars and hotels have been easy for Bert to bring on board because owners are excited to get business during this otherwise slow hours of the day. She said, for partners, we activate and monetize their underused spaces. It's genius. And her customers, this newly created group of people who now work from home, they're loving having the option of going somewhere that is socially distanced, serves up tasty foods and drinks, and conducive to a productive work environment. It's just as nice as a change of pace in a time where our pace has been changed on us. In its essence, that's the main service WorkChew is providing, a nice change of pace. She raised over $2.5 million from investors, and Bert is now expanding WorkChew to 17 new cities. She's another stunning example of how to quit your job without creating a new one. Bert's idea was born from recognizing a new source of human frustration. By first acknowledging that frustration in herself and then creating a solution she could scale for everyone who felt the same. Bert found the secret to being a true entrepreneur by becoming an expert in human happiness. What about the essential workers who are still showing up every day? Many working longer hours, all under new protocols for lesser wages. Maybe for them, it's burnout that's driving Great Resignation. People are just done giving all of their time to any job where they don't feel valued, and they can't see how their efforts are bringing them closer to their dreams, their goals. Maybe the worldwide sweep of the pandemic, with all the lives that it swept away with it, caused a whole lot of people to snap out of workhorse mode and remember that, whoa, life is short, life is precious, life is to be enjoyed. Whatever is driving the Great Resignation, if you hear the call within yourself to join your fellow entrepreneurs and finally start betting on yourself, now is the time to do it. Don't be afraid. Yes, the pandemic hit us hard, but throughout history, there has been a silver lining for entrepreneurs every single major crisis in our country. During the 1930s, amidst the Great Depression, we invented television, commercial airlines, and air conditioning. In 2008, recession destroyed financial firms and housing markets, but it also launched Instagram, Uber, Airbnb, and WhatsApp. The pandemic has already launched 4 million new businesses, created millions of new jobs. And according to Dan Wang of Columbia University, he said, we could see a revival of society and economy just in the Roaring '20s experience after the First World War. It's not all a stretch to expect that we will be seeing a glorious explosion of new ideas coming from all these new ventures. And I'm so excited to see how your ideas contribute to making this world a better place. So to answer your question, how do I quit my job without creating a new one? Take an example from some of the most inspiring entrepreneurs of 2020 and ask yourself these 3 questions. What skills have I developed by pursuing my passions? And don't minimize your passion by calling it a hobby. Billions of dollars have started out as hobbies, okay? Steve Jobs tinkered with building his own computer as a hobby. How can I use the skills and tools I already have to become an expert in human happiness? And finally, ask yourself, what does burnout look like for me? And this one is so important because if you know the warning signs of burnout, you can right the ship before you go off course. Thank you so much for joining me today. Please subscribe if you enjoyed this episode because I release new masterclass videos every Tuesday and Thursdays. For the first thing you're going to need to launch your amazing idea is a great brand. And by the way, the number one way to leave your job without creating a new one is to love what you do and love how you do it. Thanks for watching. Don't miss out on a single thing. Subscribe below. And here's something else I think you'll love.